الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبع سنته إلى يوم الدين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome again to this week's episode of Guest of the Week. And as usual, we have a very exciting topic and a very special guest. And today's episode will be slightly different because we'll be meeting a revert, someone who embraced Islam, and he will tell us about his life and his story on how he accepted Islam. And today's guest is Brother Gabriel. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Gabriel.
Assalamu wa rahmatullahi.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Jazakallah khair.
So, first of all, you could just tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do as a living, basically.
Right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. My name is Gabriel Kerezstes, born in Romania, 1983, and grew up in Romania in a mixed Christian family, Orthodox, Catholic, Unitarian. Did my basic education in my elementary school, and then moved to Canada with my family in 1998 and continued my education there, high school, university. I've graduated from University of Windsor with a bachelor's, a double major in biology and psychology and neuroscience, and then I did another major in education. So I'm a teacher right now, actually working in Abu Dhabi.
Okay.
Teaching grade 1, alhamdulillah. And I enjoy teaching, but I have a very mixed background, as you asked me where I'm from. I've come from, actually my background in Europe is quite mixed as well, from Slovakian roots and Hungarian roots, so not fully, but grew up in Romania basically. And now I'm in UAE by Allah's blessings. Finally I arrived in UAE about 2.5 years ago, and I'm working here in UAE in Abu Dhabi.
Okay, mashallah. Now, you have quite a few, before we go into your story about how you became Muslim, you have quite a few projects. One of them is this book that I have here, Journal of a New Muslim, which we'll talk about in detail later on in the show. But you also have some other projects or activities. For example, you have a kind of a media production company as such, where you're trying to produce media for YouTube, for the internet, to kind of give a true message of Islam. So if you could tell us a bit about those kind of things you're working on.
Right. Well, since I converted to Islam, I reverted to Islam, I felt a need, and I saw a need for Islam to be more visible in the media, more popular. So I realized that I should do something. And this was quite early, actually, in Islam, and it was just preliminary, just ideas and talking to different people. But alhamdulillah, finally things crystallized within 2-3 years into Islam. And I started doing different videos and shows and discussions, and of course within the limited knowledge that I had. And I started what we call Islam Dunk TV. And it's basically, it's a media production company that runs on a website, based on a website, on the internet, through YouTube, Facebook, and so on, all these social medias that are on the net. And basically the purpose of this is to clear misconceptions about Islam. We see people in the world watching different TV channels, different shows, and not getting the full and true picture of Islam. But we also see on the other side Muslims not doing enough to portray the true message of Islam on the media. So you can't really blame the non-Muslims for having a wrong picture sometimes, right? Because we also have to do our job. So we took this upon ourselves. We started by going to different conferences, Journey of Faith and so on in Toronto.
So you started off in Canada, basically.
Right, in Canada, right. And we also started a radio show that was actually one of the first Islamic radio shows in southern part of Canada, in Windsor, Ontario, and reaching up to Detroit, Michigan. And it was called the Islam Dunk Islam Dunk radio show.
Okay, mashallah.
Okay, so basically it's been running, and it's still running today. It's been running now for about 6 years. And it's also about clearing misconceptions. And that's why the word Islam Dunk, it's like Islam dunking on someone who has a misconception about Islam, you know? It has got a connotation.
Okay.
Because
when I heard it, I was thinking of the slam dunk in basketball.
Right. A lot of people asked about the name, right? But it's basically you're Islam dunking someone who has a misconception or says something wrong about Islam and clearing the misconception. So that's what, the TV part is doing, the videos, the radio, obviously the radio part. And we're just talking about basics of Islam, basic misunderstanding of basic concepts of Islam, and just clearing it up with very simple proof and simple language, so people of different backgrounds, different walks of life can understand and say that this is our goal. People can say that, hey, it's not as I thought it was. I should check myself before I speak again, or I should go and learn more about about Islam. So this is the purpose of Islam Dunk.
And I believe, I mean, from what I've seen of Islam Dunk as well, it also has a very nice kind of youthful, modern touch to it. So it's also, for the Muslim youth out there in the West, it's also something they can relate to. It has many relevant topics that the youth are facing in their everyday life.
Right. I mean, one of the main things in propagating, social media, and especially when it comes to Islam, is having some wisdom. You have to look at who you're targeting and how you target. So we made Islam Dunk in such a way that it's very appealing and attractive to youth, but at the same time it's not appealing or that to the older crowd or to the older generation. Right? So it's kind of covering the spectrum of Muslims. But yeah, we are targeting the youth because the youth are today the ones who are mostly interested in the social media. However, with modernization and the new age and the new media, we find that even the older generation are on Facebook or on YouTube. They have their own accounts. They're on Twitter and so on. So alhamdulillah, I think it's covering both. And Islam Dunk is basically would like to involve and tries to call upon involving the youth. They should identify themselves as Muslims, should feel proud of being Muslims, should see that Muslims are not just some old guy, screaming or frowning or something.
Some old uncle.
Yeah, some old uncle. But it's actually the youth themselves are doing this. And it's not the end of the life. If you're a committed Muslim, some people think, that's it, my life is over, right? And I just pray in the mosque, and I go to the mosque, and I'm just gonna age, and I have to have a misbah in my hand, and that's it. People don't understand the real balance and comprehension of this beautiful faith, this way of life called Islam. So we try to make them feel comfortable and make them feel when they look at our media production and our brothers who are speaking, such as yourself, that they say that this is a cool dude, this is a cool guy, and I would like to be like him. We need to show role models. We need to be role models. People are in need. The youth today are in real need of role models, and there are not too many around.
True, true. I mean, what kind of response do you get from I'm assuming obviously you can, what kind of hits do you get, visitors, and do you ever get any kind of people emailing you or leaving comments on how this has affected them, or their misconceptions have been cleared, or they've become a better Muslim? Do you get those kind of things from Islam Dunk TV?
Right. It's quite hard these days to to put yourself out there, to market yourself, right? You need a good budget. You need all kinds of things. So I mean, Islam Dunk is pretty much operating on a volunteer basis. However, we have, alhamdulillah, by the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we've been receiving a lot of responses from people, and sometimes just makes your day. You might have had a hard month or a hard day, and you open your email and you see someone from Indonesia or Africa saying, I had some doubts about Islam, or someone said something I didn't really understand, or I've been growing up thinking this, even Muslims, and they're saying, I would like to thank you so much. Your video or your show, this guest has really cleared up for me, and you don't understand what this means to me because I felt like I was lost. And you just sit there and like, this is all what it's really about, subhanAllah. At the end of the day, of course, after serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is our niyyah and our intention that we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by this. But subhanAllah, and you're also serving the people. And the people, when someone tells you, thank you, as the Prophet said, who doesn't thank the people, doesn't thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling of achievement. And alhamdulillah, even non-Muslims, many people, women, men, emailing us sometimes and saying, this show it was excellent, really amazing. And we do also an Islam Dunk or Islam for Romanians, in the Romanian language, and clearing up misconceptions.
Yeah, I think I saw a few of those videos.
To the Romanian crowd. And I get, most of the emails will come, or some comments will come from the non-Muslims, from the Christians, Romanians, who are saying, who have been, their whole life have been trained to believe that Islam is, a Turkish thing, and the whole concept. So now they find themselves, someone explaining to them in their own language, what is Islam? Basic terms, basic things, and they really, appreciate it.
And there must be a great need for that, really, because
there's a huge
in Romanian, a native Romanian revert, and obviously something I'd like to mention out there for any of the viewers, obviously, who don't know, we say revert,
yes,
because we believe that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that every child is born upon fitrah, this natural inclination to believe in only one God, and it's only his family and society that will change them into a Christian or Jew or any other religion. So we have reverted back to what we were when we were born. But yeah, it must be great for them to be able to relate to somebody.
It's really
like yourself.
amazing. And and as we'll talk coming up, one of the main questions they ask is how. How did you
become a
to
Muslim?
Yes, they want to know. And a lot of times I ask you, is your family okay with it? Because they know my background. They know how, the culture is, and so on and so forth. So they want to know, what's your story?
And that's funny because I can relate to that because where I work for, obviously the Dubai Government Department of Tourism, we have an Islamic exhibition called El Siraj,
Right.
and we deal with the tourists on a daily basis. And this is one of the things that sometimes you don't even need to. The conversation you have a very nice conversation about Islam because they will simply ask you, so you're from the UK, so
right.
Why did you become a Muslim?
And you find you
have a very nice conversation, and a lot of them are very happy, and they leave saying, I really didn't understand Islam, and some of them become really interested in Islam, and some of them have this kind of, their conception, the idea of Islam has completely changed,
right.
And they actually realize it's not what a lot of people think it is.
And this is what it's all about, as we see, and as I started the show. A lot of people genuinely want to know the truth or would like to know about Islam. But because of the media outlets that are out there who are leading the propagation of, of information, be it on the net, be it on air or whatever, of course people get part of Islam, sometimes a distorted part of Islam. And most of the time, what the TV says is truth, right? That's what we believe, or we're trained to believe, right? So people just say that this is Islam. But when they encounter people such as yourself or myself, they will say, I didn't know that. And thank you so much for explaining that to me. And I'll be more careful next time when from where I take information, who do I speak to? So this is what it's really all about, I would say.
Now, if someone wants to look at Islam Dunk TV, is it just on YouTube, or is there a web page as well?
Yeah, there's a website, islamdunktv.com.
Simple as that.
Yeah, it's very simple.
Okay, and all the videos can be found on the web page?
Videos can be found there, even
as well as
a link
YouTube.
to the radio show. They can listen, they can stream
you have
live.
a live stream to the radio show?
Yeah, there's on Friday mornings, but it's out of North America, out of Canada.
Well, a lot of our viewers, are based, outside of the UAE in the West, so that would be very interesting for some of the viewers.
IslamDunkTV.com, you can go to the actual video shows or the radio shows. And
now, I also believe you have another project that's dealt with people who blatantly or purposely write misconceptions about the Prophet Muhammad's life. They purposely try to deviate from the the reality or distort. That's the word I'm looking for. Distort the reality of his life and of Islam in general. So could you tell me a bit about this? What is it? Is it just a website, or is it any kind of publications? What exactly is it?
Let me turn to tables.com. This is a very famous actually statement of Sheikh Ahmed Dirat rahimahullah.
Okay.
He would say, let me turn the tables, right? So we took that from there, and it's started by a brother in Pakistan actually. Very amazing brother, mashallah, brother Waqar. And he single-handedly pretty much started this, and then I joined them. And let me turn the tables.com. That's what it is, the website. And as you said, the history of this is quite long, and it started obviously with Orientalism. And this is going back in hundreds of years actually. From the printing of the Quran, people trying to when they translated the Quran, actually, they distorted even the word God. They put it as a different, that would actually mean an idol, right? If you read it in the English language, in the Old English, when people would read it, just the basic connotation of the word would be that these people whose book we're reading are actually worshiping an idol, right? So the people were twisting things. So let me turn tables.com is basically an academic endeavor to respond to some of the most raised questions, or how would I say, misconceptions, or even academic, people on purposely academically writing academic papers talking about Prophet Muhammad's life. So we basically academically turn the tables on them and refute these misconceptions with Quran, Sunnah, ayats. We go into the Arabic, too deeply into the tafsir and so on and so forth. And we show people where these people have distorted. And we always kind of write in such a way to let the reader or the person who's dealing with this, with the questions, why would these people try to do that? And what's behind?
Okay, just hold that thought. Now it's time for a break. Please stay tuned. Welcome back. Now we left before the break with Brother Gabriel, and he was talking about letsturnthetables.com. So please, brother, continue.
Bismillah. Let me turn the tables.com is, as I said, an academic endeavor of responding to people who are distorting information about Islam. And there are many, and they're actually professionally done, and they're organized. There's actually associations, proper academic associations who are taking upon themselves to distort the image of Islam, and we see what's going on. So we're actually trying to respond to these people, and alhamdulillah, we're getting amazing, amazing responses, because the way we structure our papers, sometimes a lot of the papers are submitted to some of the scholars, right? So they're basically reviewed, and so on and so forth. So we're putting it together in academic proper format as an article, and people are very impressed, and there's a lot of response that we're getting, again, people thanking us. And a lot of times this will come from Muslims, right? Muslims who have interacted with people who are trying to distort Islam, harboring doubts about Islam and so on and so forth, and these doubts being,
so basically,
right,
clearing the misconceptions. It's helping to clear their misconceptions.
Yes, and it's again amazing when we get these messages or people are contacting us and thanking us, and this is what it's, alhamdulillah, let me turn the tables.com is about.
Okay, well, this has been very interesting, but let's take it back to where it all began.
Right.
When you're entering into Islam, and how did that happen?
Right.
I mean, yeah, please.
طيب. Well, as I said, I was born in Romania. I grew up in Romania in a Christian environment. And my story to Islam, sometimes I look back and I have, flashbacks, and I remember things, parts and parts, because it didn't happen, that it just, okay, I saw something. Some people, subhanAllah, they'll pick up a book, for example, and they'll read something and tell us, I want to be a Muslim. It took me a span of time for me to realize that, first of all, I was very attracted to Islam. And as I grew up in Romania, I was always, always in love with God. I loved faith. I loved to pray to God. But I didn't know more than what I was taught. And this is something very amazing. In knowledge, in the world, there's so many people who are in the same situation as I was.
Well, this is that, as you mentioned, this is that fitrah, that natural inclination that always at some time in someone's life will come out.
Right. And as we say, even the atheist, right? Even the atheist speaks about God probably most, this is one of the most popular subject in his life. And when he bangs his knee, what does he say? Oh God, right? So it's always, God is something that people long to. People want to find God. And I grew up actually even going to church sometimes without my parents, taking some of the kids around our block to church and praying. And I used to stop on my way to school praying. So I was very much in love with faith and praying to God. So I can't say that because of this or because I can't pinpoint something as why and how. But what used to happen is before I started going to church, on a regular basis, I actually had a series of accidents in my life, okay, breaking hands and so on and so forth. And it always happened on Sunday. So at one point I started, subhanAllah, and you're talking about a 7-year-old, 8-year-old thinking that I see a pattern. I think God is not happy with me because I love God and I pray, but I don't go to church. So I start going to church.
Because of this whole Sunday.
Right, because the whole Sunday
Sunday's
thing, right?
the holy day,
Yes.
so it must be a sign kind
Right.
of thing.
It was like, for me, it was a sign that, man, it's like happening on Sunday. Literally like 5-6 times. It was just Sunday, and breaking my wrist, breaking my hand, breaking my head, breaking my leg on Sunday, right? So I said, okay, I need to do something about this. So I started going to church, learning more than just, what I knew from my parents and my grandparents, taking the Bible, studying, going and study, Bible study. In Romania, things are a bit different. In school, you have to, today, Bible studies are not that. You have to go to specific colleges or something. When I grew up, it was part of the curriculum, okay? So I started learning and getting deep into the scriptures and believing and following. However, there was always, as you said, the fitrah did not agree with a certain concept. And as you know, that is the concept of the Trinity, right? And anytime you speak to any Muslim who has reverted from Christianity to Islam, they will always bring up this point. I would say 95% or more out of the people who have reverted to Islam, they will always mention the Trinity. And as you said, it's related to the fitrah. Because I loved God, but I can never bring, for example, Jesus and the Holy Spirit to the same level and to the same pedestal. And when you look at the Trinity, it must be, it has to be the same pretty much. So I basically started developing an academic approach to Christianity, learning and studying and so on and so forth, right? Now, again, obviously, the journey continued here and there. But I knew very little about Muslims, very little. What I did know was that Turks are our neighbors, and we had some issues with them and so on and so forth. And this is something that was pretty much fed to us through the media. Now, media, people might think that it's just TV. It's not. Books are media. Information is media. It depends how, there's different media sources. So poetry can be considered a media. So we used to memorize poetry, pretty much talking bad about Islam.
So this is probably poetry that's been around since the pre-Balkan Wars.
Really, hundreds of years, And people are growing up with that, being taught certain pride and so on, and looking down upon these other people, right? So you grow up in that mentality, and whenever you hear the word Islam, you equate it to something bad, right? So whatever I knew about Muslims was that I never met a Muslim in my life, okay, at that point. So, but there was, I remember very vividly, there was a TV show. They used to come, I think it was a National Geographic or something like that. And they used to have, in the introduction, a section of a person going up and calling the adhan. I think it was in Iraq or something. And I used to wait for it every Sunday when it was to play, or Saturday on the weekend. And I used to run just to catch that one part, because I used to love to hear that. And you say, Allahu Akbar, right? And I used to love that, just to see that guy, calling the desire in his heart, for faith, for the sincerity. And it was a fraction of, a very small period of time. It was just one of the, but I used to just run to see that. So I was being attracted, I felt attracted something. And I remember sometimes watching TV and seeing different things and seeing guys with beards. And right away, the prophets would come into my mind. And if I would look around me, there'll be no one with a beard except for the priests, right? And I would see a separation between what the priests are doing, what people are doing, right? So, it was like, why aren't the people being like the priests, for example, right? So anyhow, this is basically how it started. When I moved to Canada, it was the first time, this was 1998, was the first time when I've actually met Muslims, right? The first time I ran into Muslims, again, with that misconception about who Muslims are, and then I finally realized that, okay, not all Muslims are Turks. I met actually a Muslim who looked exactly like you. He was a Bosnian Muslim, blue eyes and blonde hair. And he said, I'm a Muslim. You're a Muslim? So I realized that, wait a second. I've been told something, and now I'm experiencing something firsthand. And there's some kind of misalignment. So what's going on? Who's lying? Who's saying what? Who's speaking the truth? So I started befriending some of the Muslims, started talking to some of the Muslims, specifically the Bosnian brother. His name is Kemal Smailovic. So as youth, right, we used to go around and we used to party and so on and so forth. We used to go dancing. But he would always pray. And this was something amazing. To me, this was something, off this world. And I asked him one day, wait a sec, you're praying, but we're going dancing. We're going, to have fun and party. He said, yes, I know that. However, I need to keep a door to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open. I know that what I'm doing is actually wrong. For a Muslim, this is wrong. And I know that I'm going to change at one point. And to me, that really impressed me. And I remember, because I used to watch him pray, and he would always say to me, come, sit in front of me or next to me, like my sutra, kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. So don't let someone pass in front of me and be careful. So I would always look at him, praying. And when he would make sujood, the prostration that the Muslims make with the head to the floor, I felt so attracted to that. Because, again, I could remember from the Bible, Jesus doing that, prophets doing that, falling on their face, is described in the Bible, prostrating to their Lord. And I said, again, we don't do that. How come we don't do that? So all these things were slowly coming together, all the pieces of the puzzle, raising more and more questions. Why this? Why not that? Have I been told all the truth? Is it the truth? So these were coming together. Now, again, it's over a span of time. I'm trying to make it as compressed as possible for the sake of time. But I was very, very much impressed with the character of this Muslim. And we know today a lot of people say, that people are lacking character here and there. But specifically this person and his prayer and his family, had a lot of character because they were practicing Islam, or they're trying.
The thing is, that's the thing. That's what a lot of Muslims don't realize, that just by being a good Muslim in your actions, if you act like you're supposed to as a Muslim, the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that you see that so many people are affected. Just like you saw this Bosnian praying, and the whole prostration affected you.
Right.
Likewise with me, I saw a bunch of students in the UK, Muslim students, only a handful, but they would get together and pray in the classroom. And I saw them also prostrating, and that's where it all clicked for me. So Muslims don't realize that just these simple things that they have to do anyway, sometimes can be one of the best ways of teaching people what real Islam is and making them ask the right questions.
So as we were friends, I remember one day he asked me a question. He never really preached to me openly, but he asked me, we talked about, and I actually asked him a lot about his faith and so on and so forth. We would have a lot of discussions. But one day he asked me a question, and I remember very, very well. We're driving to go play soccer, football. He asked me, what do you mean when you say Jesus is the Son of God? Like literally the Son of God? And it was weird because the answer that came from me was a very abrupt and fast answer. And I think it was a sincere answer. It was an answer that was coming from the fitrah. And he said, like, God has a son? And I said, no. It's just like God has created us all and we're children of God, Kind of like that's what I give him. So he said, then I don't understand what you believe, Like, why do you guys worship him? And that was it. He didn't really talk about it anymore. We went along with our thing, played soccer, but it sunk so deep in my mind that it stayed with me really till the day I decided to actually, leave what I believed, right? And I was thinking about it over and over again. And slowly I was moving away from what I believed. Now, of course, a little time of confusion came into my life because I said, well, who am I? What I've been told is wrong. I can see it now, slowly, that things are distorted. I started going back to my scriptures to find some answers. And it's interesting that the answers that I was finding were closer to what Islam says rather than to what Christianity says, for example. And I remember taking books from the library and hiding under my pillow. I didn't want my parents to know, and I would get up at night and read the book or something about history of Islam or statistics and so on, different things. And I was very, very much in love with it.
Sounds like me when I when I started to pray age 14, and my grandparents and my father would come up and they'd walk in the room and I'd be pretending that I'm looking under my bed.
Because, you feel like, it's not that you're embarrassed. I could say maybe you're embarrassed. Because you're kind of, parents be like, what are you doing? You're leaving our culture. People don't understand that the quest for truth is not a disrespect to his parents. It's not that you're putting your culture down or your background, you're a traitor. People have called me many different things. It is a quest for truth in life. When we're talking about, humanity, why do we still, when it comes to truth, no, we keep it in small compartments, and it's our culture. We need to stick to our culture. Let those people stick to their culture, and so on and so forth. No, it's a quest for truth. What is the truth? Islam is not an Arab religion. People don't understand that. It's not the religion for Arabs. Islam is a way of life. So that's how basically it moved, and I was reading and learning and studying and learning about the Quran, trying to memorize certain things. My friend was giving me Al-Fatiha. But at one point, I've realized that I can't follow and I can't continue to follow a religion that was given to me and it was distorted, that I didn't really choose necessarily. So I've actually left. I've actually said, I believe in God, but I will not follow in a religion specifically, right? And I lived like that for about a year or even more. Again, learning about Islam, learning about different religions, taking different courses, looking at philosophy, Buddhism, Hinduism. I remember in our philosophy class, they touched upon almost every religion except Islam. When it came to Islam, and again, because of the misconceptions and the people have a distorted understanding of Islam. And our teacher was to say, yeah, Muslims, they just keep listening to their Muslim music. He was talking about Quran. He's like, I have some neighbors, they're always playing the Muslim music. It's the Quran, He was playing, but he just didn't pay any attention. He didn't give 5 minutes to Islam. So I was actually very upset because of that. And it pushed me even to read more and more about it. However, at one point in my life, I felt a bit comfortable.
Okay, well, we have another break coming up.
Okay.
Please join us after the break. We will continue this very interesting story with Brother Gabriel. Welcome back. When we left, we started to hear the very interesting story of Brother Gabriel's reversion, his returning to his original belief that we all believe, or we're all born as Muslims, those who submit to Almighty God, Allah. So please, Brother Gabriel, you mentioned that you got to that stage where you had decided that you've left Christianity as such, and you believe in one God, but you hadn't fully become a Muslim, but you carried on looking at different religions and different philosophies.
Right. What happened is that at one point I felt quite comfortable with myself. It was kind of making my own faith, you know. And I remember I was fasting even because my friend was fasting Ramadan.
Okay.
And I started fasting my own fast, but I would fast only up to 12 o'clock, you know. And then I would eat
part-time fasting.
Yeah, part-time fasting, right? And I started even praying by making sujood. I started praying by making, and people would see me and they're like, "Are you Muslim?" And I would say, "No, not really." And I remember one time I went to the masjid, and it was Ramadan, and it was Taraweeh prayer, and I prayed with the brothers. And after the prayer, I said, "Are you all your prayers so long?" You know, it was like a long prayer. 2 rakahs in Ramadan sometimes, you know, it was like 15, 20 minutes. He says, "No, this is a special prayer." They explained it. But I remember one guy came to me, a friend of mine, who didn't see me for a long time, and he was a Muslim. And he said to me, "Are you a Muslim? You become Muslim?" And I was kind of sitting very relaxedly, you know, very loosely. And I said, "Yeah, no." And it was a sincere answer, probably for what was inside of me, that I was wanting to become Muslim. And the brother got all excited and started telling me, "Yeah, this guy is a Muslim." And I said, "No." And then both me and my friend like, "No, he's not a Muslim, not yet."
Everyone starts coming hugging you.
Yeah, they did. That's the thing. People started, you know, gathering around. And then he had to explain, said, "Well, he's very close." But it was a sincere, you know, slip of a tongue, as you know, you might call it, right? So I was going to the masjid, reading, so on and so forth, but I didn't commit to Islam yet. There were certain things in my life. And I think a lot of people, when we talk to a lot of people, they're at this point of his life. Many people say that Islam is most likely the truth, or it is the truth, or the best religion, or so on and so forth. But my lifestyle, or so on and so forth.
That's perfect. We've had that so many times, even at our exhibition, Al-Siraj. I mean, we've had people, they will sit there and they will say to you, "I can believe that, you know, there is only one God,
right,
Allah,
of course,
and that Muhammad is the messenger, the last messenger,
obvious,
and Jesus and everything,
obvious,
and the Quran is the final revelation, but I'm just not ready to become Muslim. You know,
right,
my family, my mother, my brother, my society, my husband." There's always that thing that stops them. But very few people, from my experience, and obviously from yourself dealing with this, you know, the whole debates or, you know, discussions you have, very many people can deny it,
right,
whether they be a priest, whether they be an atheist even. At the end of the day, even with a Muslim with limited knowledge, because this limited knowledge he has is from the Almighty, they can, you know, not deny it as such, but they can just choose to put the fingers in the ears, right, or just turn the other way.
Now, one of the things that Brother Kamal, my friend, he never judged me. You know, I was doing different things, but I did tell him, and I said that Islam, I confessed to him my love for Islam, and he told me, and I said to him, "I don't know, because my lifestyle." So he said, "Don't worry about that. You need the key. You need to just become Muslim. This can be sorted out later. You need to take the step." And that, I think, was a very wise approach. He didn't say, "No, man, you have to quit your girlfriend, you have to quit this, quit that." Quit, right? It's like a sudden change sometimes to people, you know. And as we know, even the way Islam came, the way revelation came, the way the laws came in Islam, right? I mean, this is from psychology point of view, this is something amazing. It shows that the one who has sent the Quran and the way it was revealed knows the ins and outs of his creation. And that can only be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because really through, you know, subhanAllah, we look at today of the different approaches of quitting this or doing that, quitting smoking. Everything has to be done gradual.
Step by step.
This is how the psychology, the nature of human beings are. So he didn't judge me in this. So I was very close to it. However, I couldn't make that, you know, that final step. And I remember very well, one time I had some issues, some argument with one of my, you know, lady friends. And I was so upset, and literally I fell on my face. I made sujood, I cried. And now that I think about it, the position that I fell towards, where I was in the house, it was towards the Qibla. Okay? And I fell on my face and I said, "Oh God, oh Allah, just show me the truth. Just push me, you know, to the truth." And sincerely, I was crying. And not that night, but sometime after, I had a dream, okay, that I was partying and, you know, being in the house and it was dark, and someone came and stabbed me. And it was such a vivid dream. It's called the vivid dream psychology. You know, you cannot really tell whether it's, you know, reality
almost
or
like
not.
it's
very
reality.
real. I could feel the pain, you know. And I was walking out, hitting the walls, and I got out in the courtyard. It was dark, and I looked in the sky, and I could hear like ambulance, even like sirens. And I could see in the sky a light, and then my soul like lifted. And I woke up, and I was crying, and I was sweating, like, you know, when I woke up, and I thought that something happened. I went and checked on my brother and my mom, everything okay, and I literally cried for almost, you know, an hour. And I was so affected by it, but somehow inside of me, I knew that, what if I will die? I know what the truth is. I have searched. It's not like I just, you know, I saw something in there. I've searched for the truth, and I know without a doubt that there's only one God. And Islam is the way to God. Not that it's a way to God, it is the way to God. So I said, I need to do something. This has to go. This has to move. So again, some time passed by, and another reminder came to me because I was, again, hesitating. I was trying to tell my friend, but I couldn't. And again, I remember I was in university first year, and I met him in the computer lab, and he was watching one of Ahmed Bukhatir's, subhanAllah, his nasheeds, I think is the Last Breath, it's called, right?
Last Breath, yes.
And I saw that, and he's like, look at this. And I, subhanAllah, it was like a little flash animation with it. And I heard the words, and I was like, what am I doing, man? You know? SubhanAllah, I think within a few days, I told my friend, like, please come to my house. I want to talk to you about something very important. So he came to my house. I actually went downstairs because I had some guests. Basically went downstairs, and he saw him. He's like, what's up, man? What's going on? And he was always there for me. And I said to him, I want to be a Muslim. He said, what? He's like, I knew it. He's like, I always knew it. And he said to me, remember that long Taraweeh prayer that we went to in Ramadan? He's like, in my sujood, I used to make dua, oh Allah, if this guy is truthful, please guide him to Islam. And he told me the basic, he said, repeat after me, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. There's no deity worthy of worship except Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger. And alhamdulillah, subhanAllah, it was as if something was lifted from me. That same day, I didn't start praying right away. The next day I tried to start praying, tried to learn, I missed Fajr, I prayed. I thought it was like, I had the calendar, and it was like shuruq time. So I thought that's also a prayer, and so on. That it's like a part of prayer. So I'm like, I thought it's 5 prayers, but it's 6. I was like, okay, whatever, I don't know about the fine details of the actual praying and practicing, but I knew what Islam is. I knew that is the truth. I know about Allah. And then obviously the process of the details started. But a lot of people sometimes hesitate because I don't know how to pray, I don't know this, I don't know. You need to know the basics of Islam. That's how this is the foundation of Islam, subhanAllah, the 5 pillars. What more do you want to know the truth, subhanAllah? So this is basically, that's how my life as a Muslim, I thought it's the end of my search for God in my life. It was actually, subhanAllah, of course I found God, but it was just the beginning of, subhanAllah, of this endeavor and this whole life, such as the work that I'm doing and so other things.
Well, mashallah, it's a very interesting story. Now, after you became Muslim, you didn't just stop there. So many of us become Muslim, or so many people who are already Muslim, and they don't really make any real efforts. Like you said, we have the social media now. Everything is so easy. Everything's in our hand, technology, that we can easily somehow spread the message of Islam. We can give, we're at work with our colleagues, we're at college with our fellow students. It's so easy for us to grab a few books and just say to our non-Muslim friend, here's a book, I thought you might like to read it. But how many of us actually do that, Right. And what you've done, obviously, after becoming a Muslim, apart from what you've mentioned with IslamDunkTV.com and Let'sTurnTheTables.com, you wrote a book, which I will show to the camera again, which is Journal of a New Muslim.
Right.
Now, could you tell us a bit about this book? I've had a brief look through it, and it seems very interesting, but why did you write this book? How did you get the ideas? What can we get from this book, basically?
Right. Well, as you said, once I became Muslim, it was just the beginning. This was the start of a journey. And I felt a pressing need, subhanAllah, because I knew the value of Islam. I've been struggling to find this. And many people in the world are struggling to find the truth. And they would accept the truth. And when I found the truth, I found this amazing treasure that I realized no matter how much I take out of it and give to people, it's never going to decrease. It's actually going to increase, right? So I said, I need to spread the message. I need to tell people about Islam. I need to tell people that, listen, you don't, even if you don't, you know, hidayah is in the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But at least to change the conception and the idea that people have, especially in the West, about Islam. So I said, I need to do something. So I started with Islam Dunk, I started with different things. And then I got the idea that I should write a book. You know, it's like everyone's, you know, let's just write a book, right? So I said, let me write a book. But I said, what should I write about? Then I said, obviously, sometimes the best thing that one can do is to connect to your audience, to speak about yourself and hope that someone will find that connection point between their life and your life. And I believe that somehow we're all connected at one point, right? That you can relate to someone, be it part of their life, be it, you know, greater part of life, so their full life, you can sometimes always connect to someone. So I looked at myself and I looked around myself and I said, well, we have a lot of people becoming Muslim. And a lot of people are facing difficulties from their families, from the community, sometimes from the Muslim community, right? So I said, this is what I'm going to write about the journey and the things that I've seen, how I came into Islam, part of the story that I, you know, and more details. What happened when I became Muslim? What happened after? What were the difficulties? What were the ease? What, you know, what does a Muslim, a new Muslim, go through in their lives? I put different things, some of the articles that I've written over time, some of the stories, how I found the Quran, for example, how people look at Islam, how hard is it for a person to leave the life that they come from and change themselves and adapt their new life. Some of the things, you know, about marriage or these kind of things, right? It's not easy to be a new Muslim, to be honest, especially today. We're surrounded by so many things, so many attractive things, and to lead a righteous life, as Islam calls for, it's not an easy thing. So this is what the book is really about. It's a journal of a new Muslim, right?
So in this book, will it set any guidelines on, does it, for example, talk about what a Muslim should do after becoming a Muslim? Okay. Or is it mainly your personal experiences? Or is it kind of like a guidebook?
Okay. It's not, but it's good that you brought that up because this is one of the projects and I spoke to you about that I'm going to write.
Okay, so this is book number 2.
Right, pretty much. Inshallah, it will be in collaboration with more knowledgeable people, like kind of like a fiqh of new Muslims, right? Like a guideline of what to do or how to do. Of course, to this book was, I didn't have it even at the time, and I'm not saying I have it right now, but I didn't have the knowledge, right? So I said, I'll relate my story and the things that I've went through, and the things that I've seen people around me, my friends, going through, the difficulties that they faced. And you know, one of the greatest challenges is the family. Oh, my son has become Muslim, my daughter has become a Muslim, right? It's like, what's going on? There's a change, there's this, there's that. I can't deal with this. And some of the stories are, subhanAllah, amazing when you hear. And this is what it was, my personal experience.
Okay, well, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but if somebody wants to purchase this book, Journal of a New Muslim, how can they do so?
Right, they can go to islamdunktv.com, and there's a link there, and it says purchase, and it will lead you to the actual Amazon or lulu.com, and they can purchase from there, or they can contact me through the Islam Dunk TV show, and I have some copies.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you and listen to these interesting topics.
Thank you so much for having me on, inshallah.
And until we meet next time for another exciting episode and interesting topic, I'm your host, Ismail Bullock. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.